It seems once again LTT just released a video with a bunch of misinformation in it, so much so that they had to take it down. Now, I will say I actually think this is partly on LTT and definitely partly on Starforge, because they seem to be both in the wrong, but it seems like LTT has improved on how they deal with these situations. In a now deleted Twitter post, Starforge came out and called LTT out for their second part of the Secret Chopper series. When the PC actually showed up in front of Linus, he gave it a review. And unfortunately for them, I'll go over this part really quickly because this is Starforge is just wrong. LTT was like completely right about this. The Starforge PC had like a small piece broken off and the graphics card wasn't fully seated, so the computer wouldn't turn on if you try to turn it on, and it could potentially damage the graphics card. Starforge came out saying like, hey, we didn't send a faulty product, it obviously got damaged in shipping. And everyone is like, yes, obviously, that was LTT's point. Your exterior packaging was of lower quality than other competitors. The packaging on the inside of the computer was good, but the outside stuff was bad. And Starforge said that, oh, this is like a rare occurrence, like 3 out of 1,000 have like some kind of damage to it. That's really low. If you believe their numbers, sure, whatever. So I'm just going to completely ignore this because that's a nothing burger. The serious part was when LTT said it cost them $300 in shipping to get the PC from Starforge, which is 3 times higher than any other company, which should have sent off some red flags for LTT. And the reason for this is because for some reason, Starforge rolls shipping in with the taxes you have to pay as a Canadian for your PC. And it's really odd that LTT didn't pick up on this because they talked about this in one of the first videos about Maingear.
The only thing that I wonder, right, is the fees, right? Because once you're importing to Canada, there's shipping.
Wow.
I am detecting a genuine concern for the value that I'm going to be getting out of this transaction. I feel extremely cared about right now.
Yeah. No one else mentioned that.
But there's also import taxes, right, which typically come about like 10-15%. Mm-hmm.
He just walked me through all the additional fees that could surprise me,
yep,
and set a budget that's going to keep me within,
yep,
my total target.
So he was very impressed that Maingear talked about the importing fees and taxes and stuff you have to pay to import something from the US to Canada, but it didn't come to his mind to talk about it with Starforge. And here's where the confusion comes in. So it seemed like Linus Tech Tips was only going off of the invoice they had in hand that they shipped with the PC. And on the invoice, it only said like $300 shipping, so they thought it was $300 shipping. However, this is a problem that they got called out for during the Gamers Nexus stuff. They said that when there's a value that is so out of whack, it doesn't raise any alarms in any of the review process at LTT. And once again, you have a value that is 3 times higher than any other competitor, and it didn't raise any alarms of like why this could be. It didn't like trigger any additional research. Because I will say, as a personal consumer, you should never be confused about this when you buy on Starforge. Because like, now originally to defend LTT, people were showing this screenshot of Starforge during the checkout, which is like, wow, it just says shipping $300, and that's crazy. However, what they didn't show is during the checkout, you get this. They're only showing half of the screen. So on the left side, you pick standard, expedited, but whatever, which is normal for shipping. And then below, it breaks down that $100 is the shipping and $177 is the duty and tax. So obviously, because they had a different employee ordering the PC and it was going through multiple parts of the company, this information was lost. If the review would have caught the huge outlined $300 figure when it's 3 times more than any other company, they could have easily had a better video. Because putting it as $300, like rolling it all together on invoice, is actually really bad. Like as a personal consumer, you probably won't get confused by this. However, for a company, if you get an invoice that only has shipping for $300, you then can't deduct that from the taxes because there is no separation of the shipping and taxes. So you kind of get screwed during tax season. And this is why that should be fixed. And if Linus Tech Tips would have done research, they could have like explained this all in the video on what happened, who would have potentially gotten confused by this, and why this is bad and why it should get fixed, just being like a better video. So I don't think really this can be all placed on LTT. Like what they said technically wasn't wrong, but the explanation they gave in the video should have been better. They should have said that it looked like it cost $200 for shipping, but then they should have explained what really happened and why it was bad. And if you're going like, hey, this sounds familiar, didn't Starforge already get a bunch of backlash for their $300 shipping? How is this still a problem? And you would be 100% right, because when Starforge announced they were shipping to Europe, people were instantly confused with the shipping prices. They had to come out on Twitter to say, like, just like local sellers, we're obligated to collect VAT, which is included in the shipping charges rather than in the price of the item, as you may be used to locally. So once again, they just put all the VAT tax into the shipping instead of having two separate line items, and people got confused. And it gets worse for Starforge because someone actually called them out and told them why they need to change that. Is it possible to get an invoice from a company in Poland so that I can deduct VAT from the final price on my end? So like they've already been called out for this 4 or 5 months ago, and it still isn't fixed. And like as a Canadian, I do want to take a moment to say, like, I actually really think it's a good thing for Starforge to do to have the taxes paid up front. Because if you don't know, if you're a Canadian and you buy something from like a US store and have it shipped to Canada, if they don't charge the taxes at checkout, you have to pay taxes once you pick it up. So what the delivery company will do is they'll hold your item until you come to them and pay the taxes, and then they'll charge you a fee for themselves on top of the taxes because they had to fill out one piece of paperwork. So you're going to be paying even more if companies don't go through the trouble of charging you the proper taxes beforehand. So this is a good thing that Starforge is doing. They just need to refine it a little bit. And it should have been refined months ago when it was first brought up. And even though LTT did kind of put out a misleading video, definitely not the worst we've seen, it seems that they've improved their process for responding to criticism, because they didn't freak out on Twitter. They just respond professionally. And it seems like that they are going to reshoot a part of the video to better explain the shipping scenario, but they still stand by what they said about the damage to the Starforge system. So I think at the end of the day, both LTT messed up a little bit, but I also feel like Starforge has messed up with the shipping and taxes because it was already called out to them and it should have been fixed by now. And they just didn't want to waste the time, I guess. So I'd say this is more on Starforge than LTT, but LTT really needs to start having alarms go up when values are so out of whack compared to everything else. And it just would have made for a better video. But it's also nice to see that for something so minor like this, LTT is willing to do the right thing and take down the video to have some clarification, which is what the last time drama happened with them is what people wanted. They wanted the system of where obviously they're going to get some things wrong. In this case, it was very minor, but you still need to fix the issue. And instead of just leaving the video up, they took it down immediately. And instead of having like just saying, doing an update in the comments, they just took down the whole video and is going to reshoot it. So it seems like they learned their lesson, and it seems like this isn't the biggest deal. And it's a learning experience for both sides. Quick update, I had this video done and ready to go up tomorrow morning. However, LTT came out with their video that has been edited and put back up, and they have addressed the shipping mishap with Starforge.
7 days from order to a delivery, that's good. $300 for shipping? Is that in US? While our invoice said $300 for shipping, in their checkout you can see the shipping cost should be $99, and the rest is import duties and taxes that they're charging up front so you don't get a surprise bill when the courier drops off your PC.
And I don't know how they saw that shipping, because when I go to Starforge to check it, it still has the same of it is bundled over here, it doesn't have anything like split up, and it's only when I pick my shipping method that it shows it's split. So I don't know why Linus gets a different site than I do. I cleared my cookies. I'm on incognito to like see if I got like an updated site or something, and no, it is all still the same as it was. So it doesn't seem like they updated their site for everybody. I don't know how that works. Also, I'm kind of like disappointed with their explanation because it shows like, it kind of seems like they took all of the blame for it. Like, oh, our bad. We didn't realize that it explained it at checkout. Because like, sure, if you're like a personal consumer, you would have obviously noticed it at checkout because you're probably buying the PC for yourself, so you know that. But he didn't address the issue of why it's important to have shipping and taxes separated on the invoice. Because if they're separated, if you own a small business and you buy a computer from Starforge, if the taxes are separated, apparently you can deduct that from your business's taxes. If your taxes and shipping are all rolled into one and called shipping on your invoice, then you can't deduct that from your taxes, which is the issue that they also already got called out for months ago when they started shipping to Europe. But it's still nice to see that Linus is willing to take down a whole video to correct a minor issue like that.